Welcome to the thrilling world of the flying runner, brought to you by the Marathon Mates.
Hey there everyone, it's Tony here from The Flying Runner and welcome to Out and Back. Out and Back is the turnaround point for your weekly running journey. Now we had some bad news this week with Sharon being told to rest, to be off her feet, stop running for 4 weeks. And this is to help her with the bursitis that she has in her toes. Now, this is quite challenging, as you would expect, as we have a Sydney marathon that we're both running in just 7 weeks' time. So we have Sharon off for 4 weeks while we have Sydney marathon looming its head just 7 weeks away. But it's best to do it now and to give us the best chance to fix the problem before it impacts our preparation for New York. So what this means is that I'm now training sort of by myself again. So Sharon is walking and walking only. And so I am back doing a running and training by myself. So on Saturday, I set off for what I call a base run of 13 Ks, 13 kilometers, and followed that up with a slow 5K on Sunday, just to do a bit of a wind out, a shakedown, whatever we want to call it, sort of a run. Now, personally, I like base runs as part of my training block. And importantly, for me, it's to get a gauge of where I am, where I'm at in terms of fitness and endurance. Now, I use them a little bit different to what you may think of a traditional base run. And I'm going to explain what that means for me and where the traditional base runs are slightly different in training plans. So personally, a base run to me provides a base for me as a starting point for my training. Now, it gives me a level of fitness and endurance. It gives me an understanding of where I'm at. So initially at a starting point of a training block, and then I will do a base run. And sometimes it's 8K, sometimes it's 10K. In this case, it's 13K. And what I will do is schedule a base run, a couple of times during the next, say, 14 weeks before we run New York. So what that does for me, it gives me an indicator during the training plan of where I started, but importantly, where I'm at. So as I continue to build during a training block. So is my fitness improving? Is my endurance improving? Am I feeling better? Is my heart rate better? All of those things that I tend to look at as I'm going through a training block. So that is the way that I would traditionally, that's what I call a base run, and that's how I use it. Now, it differs from what a running coach or other people may talk about when they're talking about base runs. Now, a base run in a training plan often indicates a regular, moderate intensity run that forms the foundation runs of your training plans, right? So mine was definitely moderate intensity, maybe a little bit lower intensity, but traditionally it is a base run that you would run maybe even multiple times a week as part of your training block. They're not as long as a long run. They're not as fast as a tempo, and they're more consistent in pace than what you would do during an interval run. And as I said, they're often planned for multiple times a week. Now, the goal with a base run, a traditional base run, is to develop aerobic capacity and endurance. And this is developed through consistency of the run within your plan. Now, another thing that happens with a base run is that often they're scheduled in as a recovery run because of the lower intensity that we tend to run our base runs at. So either way you want to use the base run, the most important thing is that you include them in your plan. So you can use them either way. You can use them as a foundation, as I do, and then a gauge as you move through, or you can use a base run as just your regular run that you would do, moderate intensity, maybe 5 to 8 Ks, just 2 or 3 times a week. That would that would be what many people would call their base runs. So they are important in your training program, and it is important to include them. So why don't you please share a comment on how you use base runs in your training plan, and share them with the growing flying runner community. We'd love to hear from you. Hey, thanks for tuning in. If you like our podcast, please subscribe wherever you're tuned in, and leave a review, please, because that is what helps us, and what helps the algorithm, helps us to be found by other people. Watch out for our full episode, once again, coming out this Friday, where I believe we're talking about our plans for the remainder of the year. Until then, I hope to see you out there. Happy running.